How's it going, everyone? And welcome to Delusional PC Sales, Episode 2. I'm joined by my co-host, Papacito. Papa,
Shut up.
got anything to say, bud?
Where's my treats?
No? Alright, let's get started. First of all, I'd like to say, this new screen here, I got it for 20 bucks. Pretty happy about that, but there's a problem. You can see down there, there's some kind of damage going on. I also want to say thank you guys for sending in your suggestions of wacky listings and stuff like that. I did go through them. The only problem is that the last time I did this was like a couple weeks ago, and most of the listings are already expired. So I'm going to try to do better on that part and actually follow up and make a video sooner versus later, considering a lot of you guys seem to like this kind of content. So let's just start out with this first PC that we have on the screen back here. Starting out with number 1. This one's not too bad, but they're going to get worse as they go, I promise. Custom gaming computer. Asus GeForce RTX 2080 with an i7 8700K, 32 gigs of RAM, $1,600. That's a lot of money for something this old. Pictures aren't too bad. I mean, they did a pretty good job with the pictures. That's always a plus. The one thing that's major is obviously the 8700K is really getting old at this point. I want to say it's like over 5 years old. You have an RTX 2080. These can be found for like $200 these days. And so the whole computer itself, if you really start to add up how much it costs, and also big, huge thing here, no shipping, no low offers. Like, that's $1,600. They're just literally, they have no idea. They're so off. It does have some nice stuff like the cable mod sleeving on the AIO, but this AIO is also getting very old. This came out around 2016, if I'm correct, maybe even a little bit older. So this model is long in the tooth. The card is nice. This is like one of the best RTX 2080s you can buy. The Just Do It sticker is kind of dope. The RGB strips, the case, all that stuff is pretty dated to its time. I mean, this was a cool case back in the day. Oh my god, what did he do? What? He cut a hole in the front. It's actually kind of genius. It looks pretty good, I guess, if you look at it closely. Does he mention that down below? Let's see. Nope, no mention of any hole cutting. Yeah, so he cut a hole right in the front. That's actually pretty funny. First time I've seen something like that in this case specifically. He does have nice fans, but yeah, this is a delusional ad for sure. Up next, we have a listing that Jacob sent in. I will leave the email down below if you guys want to send some stuff. And this is an Asus ROG Z390E packed with 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, a 1TB M.2 SSD, a 1080 Ti, and an i5 9600K. This is actually kind of one of the ones I was looking for, a little bit more messy, but honestly, it's not even that messy. The cable management is not bad at all.
This is Papacito. I think this PC looks really bad and my owner's crazy.
The glass or acrylic panel is really, really scratched up, and there's just like fingerprints and smudges everywhere on it. So it really looks dirty. It's not actually that bad of a computer. All things said, like 650 bucks. I don't know, it's getting to that point where even a 1080 Ti with a 9600K is not a great deal at $650. Like, if somebody found this for like $450, I would be like, yeah, go scoop that. It's not a bad deal. You can definitely get a lot of gaming done on it. But when it comes to like this configuration here, it's just a little rough. I mean, this is an older, I want to say fractal design case, maybe? I forget. But he doesn't have very many pictures. Let's see what he says in his listing. So you have a pretty nice motherboard. That's the Z390E Wi-Fi, so you get Wi-Fi on board. 32 gigs of RAM is decent. The 1TB SSD is not bad. The 660p though is a pretty slow 3rd gen SSD. So you have a nice power supply, and then let's see what the case is. Fractal, yes, Fractal Design G-Focus case, which is like an old case. Thank you, Jacob, for sending this in. I would say that this person isn't delusional. They just need to lower their price a little bit. Up next, we have the Banana PC, which is pretty genius what he did here. He's actually matching his cables to the Banana. So we have a Ryzen 9 3900X, which is a 12-core, 24-thread processor. He has 32 gigs of DDR4 3000, which is kind of in between what you should have. You should have at least 3200 to 3600 on Ryzen 3rd gen. He says there's a few things about this computer that are actually good. And the biggest one is actually right here. This AverMedia card is pretty expensive to buy separately, but I would say if you could get this around that $700 range, it's really a decent computer. 512 gigabyte ADATA, which ADATA is a little bit on the cheap side, a 3 terabyte hard drive. I don't know what model hard drive, and he's pretty limited on the specs, so you really have to go and see something like this in person. Fan is literally like falling off. He definitely used his belly to carry this around while he was naked, so there's definitely belly smudge all over there. I don't know, maybe it's something else. Before posting it for sale, but you know, people do some funny things. At least there's no feet in this picture, which usually there's always feet in pictures for some reason when people are selling computers. Nice. So you get an Xbox controller, you get all these cables, who knows what they are. You have the motherboard manual and a bag of random goodies. I would say this person is not delusional. I just think, again, they need to lower their price. $900 is too much. $1,000 is what they had it before, so I don't know if they would go too much lower. It does suck that he bought this in 2020 because he probably paid a ridiculous amount of money. This next one is pretty insane looking. It's actually very well built, but you can tell how old it is just by a few things. So let's go into that. So let's start with the listing. Computer for $5,000. Selling a high-end PC. I built this last year for a church. They grow so fast and wanted me to build a bigger one version for them. That is the reason for selling. DM if you want to buy it. This has to be a joke. All right, I've straightened out my composure. Let's talk about what these specs are, and I think I'll be pretty accurate to what this is. So this is definitely like a 2017 computer. You can tell by the fans, the power supply, the motherboard. And so let's start with the fans. You have the Thermaltake ring fans. I think that these are the 12 or 14 ring fans. And it's not like people don't carry their fans over from the last computer, but these are definitely like to date based off of the rest of the components. You also have an HX1200i, fantastic power supply with full length custom cables from CableMod. I love this setup. This is awesome, but it is a older power supply. Should be still good to use for a long time. The board is X299. The reason I can tell is this is just a very common Strix monoblock from EKWB, and you can see the RGB over here. So it's not older. It's not like an X99 platform. And then he definitely has like 64 gigs of RAM. These are Corsair Vengeance sticks. I would say they're probably 8 gigabyte DIMM modules. And then you have two potentially 1080 or 1080 Ti's. I think that these are 1080s because you can see that the 1080 Ti usually has two 8 pins. So you have a 6 and an 8, and then obviously to match it SLI, you would have another 6 and an 8. So most likely these are two 1080s in SLI. Tell by the two fingers on the SLI bridge here as well. And yeah, so you're looking at a double 1080, probably something like a 7900X, 64 gigs of RAM, and a bunch of water cooling parts for $5,000. Before we call this person delusional, let's look at a few extra pictures. And you can see here they have that awesome money shot, so they kind of know what they're doing. Here's a good picture actually showing pretty much everything that's going on. And this is the ROG logo, and you can tell that this is the X299E Gaming ROG motherboard. I'll say this person definitely does know how to shoot some nice photos, although, whoa, we have a missing CableMod cable here. So you have a single 6-pin that is not sleeved, which, whatever, that's fine, that's fine. But let's get back to this price here, $5,000 for two probably 1080s and probably a 7900X. I don't know, man. I don't even know if you need this for your church. It's pretty ridiculous, actually. What do you think, Papa? Delusional?
Yeah, pretty delusional.
Yeah. Up next is a favorite coming from Papa himself. This is a wonderful, rare Phantom case with a Prime Z690 motherboard. Let's check out the description. This is a rare, custom-painted jade-green case by Phantom. Actually, it's by NZXT, but okay. And the motherboard is really cool, too. It's an Asus Z690 motherboard. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes it's an Asus Z690 motherboard where it look future cool and fast with high All right, I swear to God, I have it together. Yeah, so it has an i9 12th gen, which means it's a 12900K.
Are you sure about that?
4 terabyte hard drive with LED DDR5 RAM. This computer light up really cool. I am really sorry if I'm like making fun of someone's bad English. It just made me laugh so hard. I opened it to show what comes with, but when I put it all together and clean up and hide wire, it looked really good. All right, so let's go over these specs. Let's look at what's going on here in this PC for $850. So first of all, you do have some nice components. The Z690 is a nice board. It's like a $300 motherboard, maybe a little bit more. And then you have some nice white DDR5 Dominator RAM. We don't know what model it is. The one thing that's really concerning, obviously this power supply is one of them, and the case. But the actual cooler, if this is a 12900K, how are you running this stock cooler? I almost don't believe that this is a 12900K. I want to say it's probably like a 12600K because the 13700K, the 12700K, most of them don't come with the stock cooler like this. And I don't know, just seems a little bit sketchy, to be honest. You got a few more pictures here, another side shot of this wonderful jade that they painted. I don't know what's going on here. There's like some kind of a, I don't know, it's like a name or something. I can't even really zoom in on that. It's so illegible. And you get the front shot with the bays that nobody uses because it's 2023. And then you get a shot of the motherboard that was just directly stolen off of Google. Yeah, I'm gonna say that this person is pretty delusional. And here's actually the worst part. Is this NVMe drive is not only not in the top slot, but it's not even completely installed. It's just like hanging out here, which is wild. I don't know what they were thinking when they built this PC. Papacito has fallen asleep because he's really bored. So we're gonna get on to the last PC. Whenever there's a white screen, that display issue right there really looks terrible. And I apologize for that, but I did save the best PC for last, and this is the final PC, which is a gaming PC with a GTX 1060. All right, so I wanted to start out with the photos. This is actually kind of adding some proof to the age of that AIO cooler in the first post. You can see that this is a really old computer, and you have the 1060 not even plugged in, which means something is probably wrong with it. You get some pictures here. You get the guy with the good life selling it. You got the beautiful Corsair case from 2013, 14, something like that. And let's look at the specs. So we have a i7 7700K 4.2 gigahertz processor with the oldest of old H100i V2. You have the MSI Z270 Gaming Pro ATX. 16 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte, 7200 RPM internal drive, the EVGA Gaming GeForce GTX 1066 gig, video card, and the Obsidian Series 750 tower. No hardware or software issues of any kind. Just had the internal hardware professionally cleaned 2 weeks ago. Can run all games including the new AAA games at 80 frames per second. Older and non-hardware hungry games can get 120 easily. For any questions or anything, please call. I would be happy to answer them to ease your conscience. Wanted an upgrade PC, so I'm selling this one, hoping to get the money to put into the new one. Why would you get a new computer if your older computer can run at like 120 FPS? I don't get that. Are you sure that AAA games run at 80 frames per second? So I'm sorry to be so like sarcastic, but I feel like this guy is just really trying to rip people off. A 1060 computer for $1,200? Come on, man. This is like a $350 to $400 computer. And it's like not even working, it looks like. Why would you have the 1060 unplugged in the image? That's just the dumbest thing I've seen so far. Anyways, guys, that's going to conclude this episode of Delusional PC Sales. This is part 2. I'm going to do some more. Please email the link I leave down below if you want to send me some crazy ads that are insane. And yeah, that's going to do it. And like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and say goodbye to my cat. Peace.